All right, so in this video, what I want to do is take the function h of x equals 1 over x, and what I want to do is apply some operations. So a lot of times students get confused on these operations, the way that they're written. So what I always like to do is just first kind of like rewrite them so we just have a better understanding, because this operations with function notation sometimes can just be confusing. And really a lot of these are fairly simplistic, but this one is what usually gets students confused, the composition, because a lot of students think it's going to be a multiplication symbol, which it is not. But a lot of times, just for simplicity, we write it in these formats. But in reality, h times h of x is really just going to be an h of x times an h of x, right? Now, all we simply need to do is replace this 1 over x with h of x times h of x. So that's going to be a 1 over x times 1 over x. Now, remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply straight across, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So this one is fairly simple. This is just going to be 1 over an x squared. And then we have addition. So we have h plus h of x. Well, again, that's the same thing as h of x plus an h of x, right? So therefore, that's a 1 over x plus a 1 over x. Now, again, it's very, very important to remember when you are combining fractions, you're not doing what you did in multiplication. And that's time a lot of times students will get confused here. Once they're doing like multiple operations, they want to follow what multiplication is. They want to apply the operation in the numerator, apply the operation in the denominator. But remember, that's not how it works for addition of fractions. What we're going to be doing is we're going to apply the operation to the numerator, but we're going to keep the denominator the same. That is assuming that we have the same denominator, which in this case we do. So this answer is actually just going to be a 2 over x. A common mistake students will do is a 2 over 2x. So don't do that, okay? Remember, we're just keeping common denominators. And again, if you get confused, just think about like fractions. If I had like 3 over 4, plus a 2 over 4, right? That answer is going to be a 5/4. It's not a 5/8, okay? So don't make that mistake. All right, now let's go and look at h divided by h of x. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is just an h of x divided by an h of x, right? So that's going to be 1 over x divided by 1 over x. Now, a lot of times students will get confused here and they're like, oh crap, it's fractions, but let's make this really simple for you guys. Whenever you have anything divided by itself, what is it going to be? It's just going to be 1, right? So it doesn't matter how confusing or how advanced the function might look. If you have the exact same thing divided by itself, it's just going to equal 1. So now let's get to our composition, because this is where a lot of students are going to struggle with this. So I have h, compose h of x. Now again, what that really means here is h of an h of x. So what we're going to do is we're going to take h of x and we're going to plug it into h of x. So a lot of times this can be really confusing to kind of understand. So all we want to think about is you have h of x, right? What you're going to simply do is plug in another h of x. Okay, so we're going to take the function h of x and we're going to plug it in. So the way that this looks, and I'm going to go ahead and write it out here, is we'll have a 1 over an h of x, right? So whatever your x is, instead of plugging in for like a number, right? If I had like, let's do it this way. If I had like, an h of 3, right? That'd just be a 1 over 3. Whatever your input value is, you're going to plug that in for x. Well, now my input value, it's not 3, it's h of x. So now I'm going to put an h of x in for my x. So now let's go and simplify this to 1 over a 1 over x. Okay, now this is not just going to simplify, this is not going to divide out like it did over here. What we need to understand in this case is saying, all right, how do we get this 1 over x off of our denominator? Now, the best way to be able to do that is just to multiply by your reciprocal. So all we're simply going to do here is multiply by an x over 1 in the denominator and x over 1 in the numerator. You have to do that to produce what we call equivalent fractions. Anytime you have a fraction multiplied by a reciprocal, that's just going to go to 1, right? And then over here, you have x over 1 times 1, so that's just going to be an x over 1 divided by an x over x, right? Which again, I said it was equal to 1, which it is. X divided by 1 is just going to be an x. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to have a final answer of x. So hopefully this video was helpful for you understanding the composition of functions with one function. If so, I know you're going to love the next video.